23 buildings. None of the buildings are original to the property. They've all been transplanted from different places.
You have buildings and all these different locations that have their own history that were brought there to recreate what it would have been like.
I know that there has been talk about the voices in the barn.
I will never forget the image of that woman. I got up and I walked through the schoolhouse to the front door, and it was broad daylight outside. And I take a couple steps out the door and I stop and I turn and I look to my right, and I'm looking down the gravel road that's outside. And then I see this woman. She's an old lady, black, emotionless eyes. There is no emotion on this woman's face. And she's floating down the street towards me.
In all my years of investigating, I've never had just a voice so consistently just, get out, leave, go away. And I think we counted, it was like 10 to 14 times it said it.
In this one in particular, I was actually really excited because they had just been like the last thing that I heard was, oh, the living man that you're looking for is in the graveyard. So when I took these headphones off and, did my little reality check, I'm like, all right, we gotta go check the graveyard now.
My name is Scott McCafferty, and I'm a mental health professional by day and a paranormal investigator by night. Over the past 11 years, I've been learning to take the skill set of helping others and apply it to my ongoing investigations into the paranormal. With an assortment of friends and family, I am on a mission to contact the echoes of history and potentially solve the mysteries they left behind.
All right, so hello chat. We are at Auglaize Village. I really hope I'm pronouncing that right. You guys know I have a tendency to mispronounce things. We've got 23 total buildings we're going to be investigating tonight. I doubt you're going to see all of those in this video just because for the sake of time. So we're going to be hitting all the really cool hotspots. We are very hopeful we'll get some stuff. We've got 3 static cameras that are running around the property right now and 3 buildings that have electricity. We're also looking to go ahead and put up a 4 static camera in another building here shortly, which you'll see. Again, one of the really big hotspots. So it's about 9:30 at night. We're just getting started on our first patrol of the evening, and let's get rolling. My name is Scott McCafferty, and I have been a paranormal investigator for close to 20 years, which, saying that out loud, makes me feel incredibly old. I actually got into paranormal investigating in a very not traditional way, I guess, because most people, they have these great experiences when they're younger. I never had any of that. I never had any kind of paranormal experience when I was a kid. When I was real little, Ghostbusters was brand new, so of course I was all about Ghostbusters. I had all the toys, I had the proton pack, I had the PKE meter. I watched the cartoon every single Saturday when it was on reruns. I was watching it all the time. And I just always wanted to be a Ghostbuster as a kid. And then as I got a little bit older, there was a TV show called Sightings that came on. It was one of the very first real paranormal reality shows. And then when I was 12 years old, I was spending the night at a friend's house. And my friend's uncle had gotten to spend a night at the Mansfield Reformatory, which is where they filmed The Shawshank Redemption, doing one of their overnight ghost hunts. And we found out from his story that you had to be 18 to do it. So, of course, that day we're like, okay, we're 18. We are doing this. We are going. And I've been doing this kind of stuff ever since.
So my name is Jen McCafferty. I am a paranormal investigator. And I've been doing this for pretty much my whole life. When I was growing up, I had a neighbor next door who was very into the occult. And used to, talk to my sister and I at length about our past lives and doing our divination charts and our star charts and stuff. And so we both got very into it from a very early age, and we've had a number of paranormal experiences from the time we were very young. So for me, this is like a lifetime endeavor, and doing the formal investigations now that I'm older and trying to, put some science behind, what goes bump in the night. Is it always a spook? Is it something else? Is really important to me.
All right, and joining us on our adventures, we have Rex and we have Jaret.
Hello, my name's Rex. I've been paranormal investigating since I was a young child. It's something I was always kind of interested in, something I was drawn to. It's one of those things that I'm hoping can eventually go from just being a hobby to something I can get paid to do, make a career out of it.
So my name is Jaret Hall. I didn't really get much into the paranormal investigation in the professional sense up until as recently as this year.
At my parents' house, I actually had a run-in with what I believe was my grandma. I'm not entirely sure. So I've had, run-ins with the paranormal ever since I was a kid, and that's something that stuck with me. And I want to be able to capture those experiences that I had growing up.
Interest in the paranormal runs pretty deep in my family. My mom really had a big impact on that and a big interest in a lot of the things that we would say as kids that, a lot of people would just dismiss as like, oh, they're just kids using their imagination. But for me, she encouraged it a lot, as well as with my brother and my sister. I just have yet to find that very particular, personal, concrete scenario for myself that is irrefutable proof that, okay, the paranormal is around you.
So when you face an investigation this large, 23 buildings, one location, most times when you watch these TV shows and these paranormal shows on YouTube, these people will rent out these locations for 3 to 4 days at a time. So they've got time to sit there and do all the shots of the building. They can do all these interviews. They can do all this cool stuff. We get 8 hours. So we had 23 buildings widespread over this huge property and 8 hours to investigate all of it. So it wasn't realistic we were going to get every single one. So what we tried to do was focus on what were the main hotspots. What are the coolest stories that we hear about while we're at this investigation learning about it. And there's a few that really stood out more than the rest. The most interesting story, I think, is the story of the little girl's body that was found.
So on the very back side of the property, there's actually some creeks, and they had found these bones.
And they're not entirely sure exactly when they would have been there, but I know that they had been there for a long time.
And of course everyone's freaking out, like, oh my god, we found this body, like where did this body come from? Is somebody missing? Was this person murdered? And it launched this huge investigation that culminated in eventually carbon dating the bones to find out maybe if these were historic. And turns out
they were examined and they were determined to be a young Native American girl.
And those bones are actually still on the property to this day.
So this is the Switchboard house. So this is where the phone lines used to be run from. Supposedly one of the more active buildings for a smaller one. Open sesame. Alright, watch your step. Also a creepy mannequin. Mannequin is creepy as fuck when you get close to it at night. Like, I keep waiting for it to spin around and just stare at me.
Oh, yeah. He said this place is pretty active with spirit box, right?
Yep. So I do have a spirit box.
I brought yours as well. Mine's janky.
Jen, do you have it in yours or in mine?
Do I have what?
Spirit box.
It should be in mine.
Okay.
a spirit box is, I guess the easiest way to explain what a spirit box is imagine an AM FM radio that's been modified to sweep up and down the AM FM bandwidth as fast as it can. It goes, and every one of those sounds is the radio skipping over a radio station. The idea is because you want to create a whole bunch of noise, because in theory, a spirit can take that noise, manipulate it to say whatever it is that they want.
Hello. Say hello. Hello. Say hello.
Could you tell me what your job used to be?
Can you connect my call to someone on the other side? Something now. Something now. Something now.
I don't know, you said what's your name. That's what I heard, what's your name.
My name is Scott. Who can you connect me with? Who can you connect me with?
Could you connect me with someone on the other side? You need to know my name's Rex.
That sounds like the same voice.
Can you pass us through to Nick?
How about a boob tube?
Boo tube.
You want to try a boob tube? The boob tube is probably the most experimental device that we used that night. It's a device that I got fairly recently. This is only the second time we'd ever used it. It's also one of the most controversial devices that we've ever used. So the boot tube works like this. Very similar to a spirit box, it scans up and down either a built-in database or internet radio stations to create a whole bunch of noise that a spirit can use to communicate. But the controversial part, the more controversial part I should say, is the video component. So as you can see on the screen, you have all these different images floating around, these weird little globs and stuff. Because the theory goes, if a spirit is able to manipulate radio waves and radio signals to use audio to communicate, then the same principle should hold true for video signals. Now again, that's what makes this very controversial because it's really hard to believe that, to be honest with you. You never know. That's why we try it and that's why we experiment, because we want to find out. All right. Can you show us your picture in there? Did I just say my name?
Yeah.
Can you say my name again? It said it again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm here. Can you say Rex's name? Did you hear that whisper?
I heard that same whisper when I first sat it down. Is there someone whispering?
Yeah, there it is again.
It's not like you just whispered back.
That fucking whisper, man.
It said Jen, too. So I found the Switchboard building very interesting. That was at the very beginning of the night, and I was running on very little sleep, and my energy drink hadn't kicked in yet, so I was very sleepy. And so I sat down on the floor, and I was kind of like doing one of these, like, okay, I'm like slowly drifting off. And then I start hearing this "get out" over and over again, like on the spirit box, and it was like, you need to leave. And so I took it a little personally. It's like, okay, I'm falling asleep here. They don't want me falling asleep where they're working, so like, yeah, but I should probably get out.
How many people are we talking to right now?
One. One. Whisper said one.
I was gonna say you heard a little better than me. I thought I heard 4.
So
I thought I heard that too.
Okay, so let's assume 3. Where are you guys located that we're talking to you? Outside. Outside where?
Did you come with one of the buildings?
Are you cold?
Gosh, what is it? Switchboard room was really active at first. And all my years of investigating, I've never had just a voice so consistently just, get out, leave, go away. And I think we counted, it was like 10 to 14 times it said it. To have, here, get out, that, if it's once, it could just be, oh, we just heard that. But to hear it 10 to 14 times consistently, getting it like that repetitive answer, I think that really validates the evidence, because it's not just a trick of the ear. You're very clearly getting that same message over and over again, and it's not like the voice was changing.
Meanwhile, while we were in the switchboard house, our static camera in the church was capturing strange noises. Now keep in mind, we were the only ones on the property throughout the entire night.
So the Kinner Cabin is a location where a family actually lived in this house.
It was built by the father of the family, and then they had, a number of children that they raised in there. And for me, that was probably the warmest building that we visited at the village. And warm is in like emotionally warm. Like when you walked in that door, it had a very welcoming atmosphere.
The man of the house very much does not like having rude company. And he also does not like electronics, and he does not like people being in his house after midnight. So, of course, we not only brought in all the biggest electronic gizmos you can imagine, but we also went in after midnight because why the hell not?
Tunes just for the sake of filming. Who's with us right now?
Us.
Who's us?
So this device is called the Portal Wonder Box, and it's by far my favorite of the ghost hunting devices that we've ever used. The Portal Box was developed by a paranormal investigator by the name of Steve Huff. And he took the idea of a spirit box and said, what if it's not the white noise in a spirit box that spirits need to communicate? What if it's just the bits of sound, the bits of audio, the words, the language, the music, whatever? So the Portal Box was designed to remove as much of that static as you could out of a spirit box, but still leave behind the bits of audio that it's scanning through the different radio stations to help make the spirit communication a lot easier.
How long have you lived here?
Are you upstairs?
It's also rare for it to be this quiet. Something outside. Is someone outside? Who's outside? If you're outside, can you open that door, the front door, and come on in?
Just for an instant. It looked like the edge of a dress go by at that tree. So where I was sitting in the room, I was facing one of the windows, and the person who had the portal was sitting in front of me, so I was facing him. And I could see through the window behind them. And there was this floodlight on the other end of the property that was kind of illuminating, you could see the outlines of some trees outside and some of the buildings that were nearby. And at one point, I saw what looked like a woman walk out from where one of these buildings were and just walk over, like they were walking down the path, past this tree. But then when they hit the tree, they didn't come out the other side. The portal mentioned there being somebody outside, and so, who knows? Was that referencing that woman? Was that you?
Where's she at? Well, that was foreboding.
Another really cool thing happened during the portal session is I actually found a picture of the Kinner family. And I was asking, who are we talking to? And I started reading the kids' names off. I'm going to read some names off your guys' family picture. And I want you to say stop after I read your name. That way we know who we're talking to. Is Teresa here? Is Fred here? Is
Fred, is that you? If that's you, can you confirm? Yep.
Yep.
Okay. Hi, Fred.
Hi, Fred.
Thanks for letting us in your house tonight. Sweet. I just got goosebumps.
Yeah. That's Fred.
Hey, Fred.
That sounded like a girl, though, so that's Fred.
I'm glad you're welcoming us because we are here peacefully. We're here to be friends.
You still getting a feed?
That's what I'm trying to figure out. Yeah, it's still going.
It's very weird that it's this quiet for this long.
I know, right? That's very uncommon for this.
Yeah, you still got lights.
The sound. Something turned the sound off on this again.
Really?
Seriously, something turned the sound off on the computer again. Are you
Alright.
touching my computer?
So question here, because we know Mr. Kinner doesn't like technology. Are you the one who turned the sound off again?
Scott,
Yeah.
you want to stick your hand over here? Like right in front of the table, like right over here? It feels like when she asked that, it got like really cold over. I started feeling this really cold, like almost breeze behind me. And I got up and I walk over and I stick my little mitt out and I'm like holding my hand.
That you can feel cool air coming. There's like a breeze.
Is that a draft on the door?
And it started getting to the point where it felt like your hands do in the middle of winter, like when a cold breeze is there. And, you know, I asked, well, are you right there? And I had Scott come over, you know, check to make sure it wasn't just me. I went over and checked to make sure it wasn't like, you know, a breeze coming in from the door or the window. And it was neither of those. It actually was warmer over by the door.
If you ask real nicely and say, "Could you please turn it off?" We'll turn it off. I want to know what those kids were saying.
That sounded like keep it on, dear.
You know what? Since he turned it off, or since something turned it off, go back and read the names again. Let's see if the rest are here.
Okay, yeah, I'll start over from right after Fred. Jacob, are you here? Is there a Maybell here? Is Grace here?
Yep.
And then the last name on here is Ford. Are you here with us?
Getting off the quiet. Why not? Well, because we can't hear you talk. That's why not.
Okay, I'm glad you heard the same thing.
Yeah, that one was pretty clear. Something tree.
Is there something out at the tree that you want us to see?
Alright, I'm standing up for a minute. 'Cause I need to see something. Alright, yeah.
What do you see?
I'm just checking something. So from the angle I was sitting at, you see where, you see where that light is and where it comes down?
Yeah.
I was trying to see if that was part of a building right there or if that was just like a pole, but it's just a pole. Because from where I was sitting, it looks like a door, and there's this tree that's right in there. And earlier, when I was looking up, I saw something move, like it was coming out of a door and like by this tree, but I was at a weird angle and I couldn't tell if it was actually what I saw or if that was like a reflection of the light. And as I was trying to move it, you kept like juking your thing right in front of where I was trying to look. So that's why I wanted to see where that is, but that's not a door there, so it's got to have been a light.
Okay, so it's midnight. Do we want to stay here a little longer or do we want to try another building?
So before we left the Kinner cabin, we decided to set up a static camera in that building to let it run for a little bit while we went over to the schoolhouse to do our Estes Method. And the reason for that is because, again, the father figure that's in the house, the father spirit, supposedly doesn't like electronics and doesn't like people being in his house after midnight. So what better way to try to catch him being angry or trying to piss him off a little bit than leaving an electronic device recording in his house for an hour and a half after midnight? And sure enough, we got some pretty interesting stuff on that static camera.
I was just saying, did you run over there by yourself? What? It's like this. So I was just telling them, did you run over there by yourself? Because this is a horror movie. That means you're dead now.
Are you gonna run this, or do you want to just?
No, we're gonna do Estes Method, so it's gonna be different.
I personally have not used the Estes Method very often. This is a fairly newer thing as far as my investigation techniques are concerned.
The best way to explain the Estes Method is what is called a false positive. So when a spirit box sweeps up and down the AM/FM bandwidth, it creates a whole bunch of noise, words, sounds, you name it. And when you're listening to it, if you ask a very specific question, you might think, hearing that gibberish, that you're getting an answer to your question when really you're just getting random bits of gibberish. And they might sound very similar. Like you might get a name, you might get a word that sounds like a name, but it's really not. So for example, if I ask, what is your name? And it says something about being on a hill, my brain might hear being on a hill and think, my name is Bill. Because your brain is looking for that answer, so it takes that random static and it just tries to make sense of it. So the Estes Method was developed to try to address that problem.
The Estes Method is kind of cool because the idea is you're blocking out the sound, you're blocking out any visual cues, so that the only things that the investigator or the person actually doing the channeling is hearing is supposed to be what's coming through the static of their SB7 box. So they can only hear that, they're repeating out what they're hearing.
Okay, in 3, 2, 1.
Is there anyone who is here that would like to speak with us?
No.
Well, that's difficult.
My apologies if I'm invading your space.
Are you a student or a teacher here?
Are we bothering you?
No. No.
Were you a teacher here?
There was just a scream.
Were you a master or a marm? Or mistress?
Are you? Connor. You heard me.
Are you talking to Connor?
Yes.
Was Connor a bad student?
Probably.
Is Connor in this room with us?
Dad. Daddy, people in there. Oh my God. We are outside.
Well, come inside then. We don't need you.
Help. Help me.
What do you need help with?
You're leaving.
Where do you want to go?
I just heard a singing voice say, "Get out. Get out. Run. Don't stop."
What are you running from?
So this is really weird. I'm getting this picture in my head of like this lady in blue with short white curly hair, and she's like floating down the road outside towards the school, and she's got like a look on her face like she's following or going after something. And I've got like some serious goosebumps.
I will never forget the image of that woman. It was not a comfortable experience. I am not typically very sensitive to picking up on the type of things you see in like the TV shows and internet shows. I'm not psychic. I'm very skeptical of psychics. I'm very skeptical of mediums. I've never been around one that I truly believed actually had some kind of ability. It's not that I'm closed to the idea. I've just never been exposed to something that I would say was legitimate. With that said, I don't know how to describe what happened to me during that Estes Method. So what I was seeing in my head is I got up and I walked through the schoolhouse to the front door, and it was broad daylight outside. And I take a couple steps out the door and I stop and I turn and I look to my right, and I'm looking down the gravel road that's outside. And then I see this woman. She's an old lady. She's wearing a very dark blue dress. She's got curly white hair and black emotionless eyes. There's no emotion on this woman's face. And she's floating down the street towards me. I remember it so vividly. And the way she's floating is weird, because when you initially think of someone floating, you think of them like standing like this, like here's their feet and they're above the ground. This lady wasn't floating like that. She was floating like she was flying like Superman. So she's over like this, her arms are out in front of her, her legs are out in front of her, and her head is up like this. So her arms are down here like this, but they're out to the sides. And she's just floating down the streets, not even looking at me. She's looking at something that's on the road in front of me. And again, goosebumps. And I just got the sense that she was very focused and concentrating on trying to get to whoever or whatever was the eye of the prize for her. Like, she was definitely going towards something, and I was there just to witness it. And that's the best way I can think to describe it. Imagine walking in on the scene that's going on and you're just there witnessing, like almost like you're watching somebody else's dream. And you're watching everything play out, and you are just powerless to do anything. You can't move, you can't speak, nothing. And you're just watching things play out around you. And that's exactly what it felt like. And that, to me, is creepy as hell. I cannot think of a better way to describe that. It was just so weird.
But I can see the white hair like distinct. It's almost like curly and coming up like this.
Mm-hmm. Are you running from the lady?
No.
Are you the lady?
Please leave.
What's the name of the lady?
That's the devil.
Oh, the devil?
Was the lady with the curly hair, was that your teacher?
Is someone... Feels like a flashlight keeps hitting me on the right side here, like a light. I think now I know why they use the blindfold. Yeah.
The only light, I have the IR illuminator on it, but that doesn't.
I don't see it.
Yeah.
On the highway either.
No, when he asked that there was nothing before that.
Are you causing the flashing that Scott sees?
Thinking. Get off me. Ready to go back. And it sounded like a question. Ready to go back?
Go back to where?
That was weird. I just seen the light outside the window.
Which one?
For me, it'd be the back right one. It'd be the one just behind you, Jared, to your left.
That one right there?
Yeah.
Huh.
And it wasn't like one that looked far away. It was like right up, like close to the window. But it was like a bright orange.
Anne or Hannah? Anne or Hannah?
Like a candle.
Anna?
Yeah.
Scott.
Was that you outside the window?
Swear to God, it feels like a light is like hitting me on this side.
Are you hitting Scott with a light?
Yeah.
Can you please stop?
Other guy.
Are you attached to that? Of course, that's when the cat out over his eye now and then attempts to thwart the ghost light. Are you attached to the bell tower that they brought from the burned church?
No.
How did you get here?
Out. What? Help.
How can we help?
Get out. Get out. Get out tonight. 3 different voices. 1 male, 2 female. Go quick.
That's not all
Get out. Mom. What? That bitch? Mike.
What about Mike?
Is there anyone there who's related to a building on this property?
Nearly everyone.
Check.
Who is not part of the building here?
Eric. Baby. There's a baby.
Whose baby?
It's you. Maybe it's down in the bathroom. That baby.
What about the baby?
Get out, get out, get out.
Are you telling us to get out or the other voices to get out?
Everyone. Help, let's go. You put me in. In here. I'm leaving.
Who put you in here?
He did.
Who's?
Is this gonna... I thought I heard the name Danny. It was like Daly, Danny, Danny Daly. What? He heard? All of it? Sounds like. All right, Scott. Get out.
Alright, we're gonna wake Scott up out of this. Is there anything else you'd like to say before we do?
That's it.
Okay. We're gonna wake him up.
all done.
That's intense. Gotta go check the camera. Let's set an alarm. I'm actually feeling anxiety going towards this door. I'm actually feeling really anxious walking out this door right now. And I've got goosebumps like...
Well, it's because you had an intense experience.
Yeah, but why towards the exit? It would make more sense if I had it inside.
No, I feel something kind of weird. Yo, spooky!
I feel like really... Oh my god, I feel really like freaked out right now walking outside.
the vision you had.
I have never seen him react that way in an investigation ever. So I've known Scott since we were, oh gosh, sophomores in college. You know, we've gone on countless investigations together over the years. And I mean, he'll be the first one to tell you, he's like, I don't have experiences like that. You know, I really want to have those experiences, but you know, Scott doesn't really have those experiences. And when he came out of the channeling, if you will, he didn't want to leave the school building because he was actually like, the way he described it is he wasn't afraid, it was just really, really anxious and really, really amped up because what he experienced, what he was seeing, you know, psychically in his mind was so intense that he could still feel it, and you could still feel that energy around the building. But it was concerning to me because I've never seen him react that way before, and he's not one of those people to be, you know, suddenly psychic.
So Jaret's Estes session at the Farm Museum. This one was a bit different than the one at the school. Now, another thing before we go into the Estes Method at the Farm Museum that you need to know is the bones I was discussing earlier about the Native American girl, that's actually where they keep her bones.
Because this was the building where the Native American bones were, I had this idea of like, ooh, well, this is going to be like a really interesting Estes Method. Like, I want to hear what's going to come through. So I volunteered to do that. And whenever I go under an Estes Method, it almost feels like I'm in a trance in a way. Like that sensory deprivation obviously plays a big part in that, but it almost feels like meditation. I honestly stop thinking about the words that are coming through, and I stop actively thinking about saying the words, and I kind of just let that flow through me where I'm not even actually thinking about the words themselves, and I'm just saying them.
I would say like within like a couple minutes of us starting the Estes Method in there, everyone in there was hearing a female's voice off in the opposite side of the building. It was very faint, but you could very clearly hear it was a female's voice.
I'm assuming he's ready. Why are you tapping back in the left corner? Where are you?
If we tell you our name, could you tell us yours?
What tribe did you belong to? Did you just hear a female voice?
I did.
Yeah. I heard it like back right.
Yeah.
See, where I'm at, it's coming from that direction, but I thought at first maybe it was something coming through his headphones.
Hey Jaret, can you hear me? How was that? How was that? How was that?
Best friend.
Did that come through in his headphone?
I don't think so,
Hurt.
because I heard that too.
What
Sounded
do you,
I heard it over here.
what do you hear?
sounded like a whimper, or
Yeah, it's like,
I mean, someone's stomach growling in a funny way. You can come over and join us. What stops you from coming and joining us?
I was.
You were? Did you leave? We're pretty friendly. You're welcome to come over here.
Perfect.
Awesome. There's plenty of spots. You can come over, sit by any one of us you want.
Can you please introduce yourself? I'm getting a pain in my side. I gotta stand up. Oh. Sorry.
Careful.
How did you end up in here?
It said something about dead and then something. It kind of sounded like they were saying country or something like that. Tonight, you'll see more.
Can you give us an example of something we'll see?
I heard the
It's
woman's
coming.
voice again.
What's coming?
I am.
Who are you?
Rick?
It's nice to meet you,
Kidding.
Rick. Rick, you're kidding? Well, I'll tell
I'll
you.
be there in 3 seconds.
Okay, 1, 2, 3. Where are you?
I'm here.
Who are you next to?
Closer than you think.
Okay. Are you closer to me? How tall are you?
About 5'9".
Okay, so you're a little shorter than me. And how long you been here?
Is there something you
Ooh.
want to tell us?
I see a really weird stringy looking orb floating around here and it's coming right at me. Ooh, 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 where'd it go? Here it is. Just went over into there. That was weird. Never seen that.
Somebody states killed themselves.
When?
I'm Jewish.
Yeah, I heard that too.
What do you hear?
I'm Jewish.
Yeah, I heard that too.
What do you hear?
We heard that voice again. I don't think it's inside. I think it's coming from somewhere outside. Because it sounds far away. Not like super far away, but not like in this immediate area.
They could secure the hanging.
Who is hung or who is hanged?
A 12-year-old whose parents had been cannibalized. I am, and it sounded like a child.
What was the name of the 12-year-old boy?
I'm a ghost. I heard a dog bark.
Well, we kind of figured you're a ghost. How did you die?
Pretty. He's coming for her.
Who is she? What's he gonna do if he gets her?
Ask a different question.
Okay. What would he like to do if he catches her? You
This
gonna-
conversation is unproductive.
All right. So what would you like to talk about instead?
See, this part really puzzled me because I really want to know, like, who are we talking to? And the voice just said, I'm not going to continue this conversation because it's not productive. What's not productive about it? Just answer the damn question. What are you going to do to her if you catch her? Who is it that you're looking for? What is it you want with her? Why are you so afraid to answer that question? That's what I want to. That's what I want to do. I want to like grab the ghost and like shake it. Like, just give me a freaking clear answer.
I'm not entirely sure exactly who they may have been, but as far as personality goes, they were obviously a lot more irritable, and you know, they may have been one of those ones that was just trying to, you know, speak their mind instead of answering all these questions. And so, you know, to them it's like, oh, well, I just answered your question, now let me say what I need to say, and then another question would be posed. And so of course to him he would be saying like, well, this conversation's unproductive, like it's going nowhere, I can't get a word in. The living man you're talking about is in the cemetery.
And he's alive? Which cemetery?
You'll see in there.
Tell me what he looks like. And what would you like me to do if I find him?
Nothing.
Alright, so we're going to go ahead and bring him out. So we need any last message or request that you've got.
Fine. Save us.
Does that include you?
I heard a brief clip of what sounded like a crowd applauding.
Okay. I think that's a yes.
So Jaret's in there, starts talking about the living man is in the cemetery. You'll find him in the cemetery. And so, you know, what does that mean? Personally, I thought it was a personal message. I don't know how better to describe it than that, but a lot of the work I do outside of ghost hunting relates around culture, and so I do spend a lot of time in cemeteries, and I do end up talking to people, so I'm wondering if, you know, that message wasn't so much for relating to the village, but relating to something for me.
I believe the reason that it said the living man you're looking for is in the cemetery or graveyard is because they don't necessarily know that they're dead, or if they do, they don't observe it the same way that we do. Don't bring him out.
Save you guys from who? Or from what?
Makes us whole until they die.
What would make everybody whole?
Heroic men of I got a name. I think I said David.
Heroic David?
What I found really interesting towards the end of it was I guess that they had been talking about wanting to pull me out of the Estes Method, and immediately there were like constant answers of no, don't do that, leave him under was actually one of them. And I obviously couldn't hear what they were saying, but getting these answers, I was starting to think like, okay, they're trying to wrap this up and they don't want me to go yet. And so that actually was a little scary to me, is like, because obviously I wasn't in any particular danger to these supernatural entities. Like, there was nothing that they could have done to prevent me from getting out of this Estes Method, but the idea that they wanted me to keep going with these conversations despite previously saying, oh, this conversation is unproductive, is like, it almost to me seems like they wanted to tell a story rather than answer questions. And I think that if we were to go back and do it again and not ask any questions, we might get answers anyways.
All right, we ready?
Yeah.
Slow down.
No, we're calling the shots here.
All used up, Chief.
I think there's a few reasons as to why paranormal investigating continues to endure. And I don't necessarily think it's not just the question of whether or not there's paranormal that intrigues people. But I think the other piece that people keep coming back for is just this mystery. You're discovering all these mysteries, and you want solutions for them because it's just human nature to want to be able to find solutions to problems. And for us in the Auglaize Village, I think each of us now has a mystery that we want to try to solve, which is going to influence us coming back here to do a follow-up investigation. For Jen and Jaret, I know they are really intrigued about what the voice was talking about when they said the living man's waiting for you in the cemetery. For Rex, I know he was really curious about whether or not this woman's voice that we got in the Farms Museum, does it actually belong to the woman whose remains were found and continue to be kept in the Farm Museum. And for me, it's that lady. It's that lady floating down that street. I want to know who she is. I want to know what she was after. I want to know what happened to the person or thing that she was going after. Was I actually experiencing a vision? Was I experiencing a memory? I don't know. And I think to me, that's always going to be the biggest driving force as to why each of us keep coming back and doing these time and time and time again. In a lot of ways, I think it becomes an obsession. And I think the people that are the most dedicated to being in this field have that little bit of obsession, because all of us are trying to do the same thing, and that's trying to solve a mystery. And that mystery, I think, is different for each person.